Now, a lot of us perceive of sound as being an energy that goes into our ears and into our brains and affecting our nervous system, heart rate, and respiration. And this is, of course, really true. And there is a science based on that whole thing called psychoacoustics. And we love psychoacoustics because it's wonderful, and it's a science that basically, for the most part, dictates and tells us that, you know, there's a phenomenological effect that occurs when we hear different types of sounds. But I'd like to suggest to you that sound is not only an energy that goes into our ears and into our brain, which is enough, but it's also an energy that goes into our body, into our cells. In fact, here is a quote from the New York Times science section. "Sound, shaped into dazzling tool, can make, break, or rearrange molecular structure and levitate objects." I'm not going to get into the object levitation thing right now. That's, some of us may remember building the pyramids with sound, but that's a whole other story. But if you can just think about the fact that you can make, break, or rearrange molecular structure with sound. People often ask, well, what sort of conditions can be cured with sound? If you think about it, potentially anything can be shifted and changed using sound. But then again, that has to do, remember the formula, frequency plus intent equals healing, okay? And there's a doctor by the name of Herb Benson, a lot of you may have heard of him. He did something called the relaxation response. And at one point, he was dealing with the Tibetan model of medicine. And there, it was the belief in the person receiving the healing in the healer, the belief in the person doing the healing in the medicine, and the karma between the two. So, I mean, I say that because, you know, Western medical doctors have a, you know, another, you know, way of espousing that, but they totally understand that concept that there's something more going particularly on besides just the frequency. And in fact, I'd like to just suggest to you, Don Campbell said something like this yesterday, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it. I think it's very true. I believe we're, number one, all unique vibratory beings. That's my thought. We are all unique vibratory beings. And that there is no one sound that is going to work on all of us the same way. Back in the 1930s, a man by the name of Carl Seashore began the study of something called the psychology of music. And what he did was he basically just handed out something called semantic differentials, pieces of paper for people to rate and check and see how they liked music. And then he played different types of music to see if it correlated. And he usually got about a 60, maybe a 70% rate of yes, I like this, or no, I don't like this. I remember the highest rated piece of music was Stars and Stripes Forever. Dun, 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 you know, and about 80% of the people found it really enthralling and really enervating, but 15% of the people found it depressing, and 5% just didn't give a darn. But that type of phenomena exists, I believe, in everything. Look, if the universe is sound, if the world is sound, if everything is sound, this includes pharmacologicals, yes? Drugs. How many of you are allergic to penicillin? Okay, usually anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20%, thank you, are allergic to penicillin. So if you perceive of penicillin as being a frequency, then 80% of this room is going to get healed under certain conditions by taking the frequency of penicillin. And 20% are going to find it a toxic substance. I think this phenomena exists throughout all the planes and the dimensionalities of healing, from sound to light to whatever you find. Now, you certainly have the right to disagree with me, and I always say the caveat that I really want to be able to wake up tomorrow, find out that everything that I believe is wrong, and I don't have to spend the rest of my life defending it. But, you know, for the moment, this is based upon a lot of experience and just what I share with you. So that today we're going to be working with sound and the chakras, And I hope for most of you, you'll have a really nifty time. And for those of you who don't, try something else, because there's so many different systems of using sound.